This is an interview for the Whiskey Chronicles with Hannah
Shamashko?
Shamashko. Thank you. I'll get it yet. I know it's Chinese. Everybody has a story. I want to know some of yours. I know we have talked about this, but this is, for the people at Homeland Security.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your story, your background?
Um, well, I grew up in a very upper middle class town.
Uh-huh.
Hated it. And not really a religious background. A very religious grandparents and aunts and uncles. My parents kind of turned away because of overexposure.
What kind of overexposure did they have? Is it your grandparents that was like driving them or something?
Yeah, for the most part, my father was raised Catholic, and he went to Catholic school, where nuns beat him.
Hmm.
Yes, and then he went to an all-boys school for high school, and he hated that. But my mom went from one church to the next church because my grandfather always found something to dispute with every church that he
Oh,
went to.
Catholic churches or Protestant or?
Mainly Protestant. Their strangest or the most different was Baptist, because she moved around from Massachusetts to South Carolina to Virginia, and back to Massachusetts, back to the South, and so. And my grandfather thinks he knows the Bible better than
anyone.
Else.
Did he have any Bible training or anything? Or just
not really. No.
Okay.
He ended up doing a driving school.
Doing a what?
Driving school.
Um,
He ran a driving school.
Okay. I didn't know if you meant for cars or golf. So.
Nope.
Okay. What experiences that you've had so far, of course, have shaped your life the most?
Probably.
Beside this interview.
I mean, this is life changing.
Yes, of course.
No. Growing up, probably a lot of the things that happened to me when I was in high school. I had a few fallouts with people, and I really hated my high school, so I ended up graduating early. That was probably the biggest thing that's ever happened to me. And then I worked for a year. But, and also when a kid that I grew up with passed away, that kind of changed everything for myself and probably for my older brother too.
What did he die of?
Cancer.
Ouch.
Yeah. So I grew up with him and his younger sister, and so he was the same age as my older brother, and the younger sister was a year younger than me, and we basically from the womb grew up together. So he's practically my older brother. He and my brother Hannah had a falling out when they were in high school, different friend groups, but we were all still close. And then almost exactly a year ago, it was that happened, and that really changed things for me. I stopped. I don't know. It changed everything.
Like.
Well, I mean, first off, I had to start taking care of my brother a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Because he physically couldn't cope, and it definitely made me realize that anything can happen any day. I mean, he was a healthy kid growing up. He just suddenly got cancer, and no one saw it coming.
When I was first year of college, I kept calling my girlfriend, back in Baltimore. I never got anybody. I finally got home for Thanksgiving, and her dad very sadly told me she'd committed suicide. She was still in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and that was devastating. Just devastating. I just hoped I wasn't the cause of that. You've got some significant relationships in your life. How have they impacted you?
Um, I would say that the most significant is probably my relationship with my older brother.
Uh-huh.
My older brother, despite him being probably the biggest pain historically, he's been a pain, but he also is probably my closest friend. Um, we
This is Alex?
Mhm.
Mm.
I mean, we work at the same restaurant. We
Mhm.
reluctantly live together. We didn't really have a choice in the matter. But and I mean, even growing up, we were really close. When I was having difficulty, I hate the people in my town back home, so I had a lot of friend problems, and I always knew that I could always hang out with him and his friends instead,
Mm-hmm.
and that happened a lot. So he hated it at first, but he kind of grew to like
What,
it.
hated having you around?
Yeah, because especially when you're, going through puberty, the last thing you want is your younger sister tagging along.
Oh, yeah.
So,
You were a lot younger. You weren't like 15.
I would say that we got closest when he started high school and I was in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wouldn't say that I've ever had an easy time keeping friends, especially girls. I just in my town at least, that town is poison. So that's why I'm here right now.
Yeah. Well, you got a little edge to you. That means you probably didn't fit the acceptable standard.
No, it's more like I'm not a complete how do I put this, asshole.
That's good.
Yeah. And
Just partial?
well, I mean, everyone's got a little asshole in them.
If you could change something about your life, what would it be? Besides being here for this interview.
I was going to use that.
Hey.
I mean, everything that's happened to me, I feel like has influenced me somehow. I mean, granted, there have been things that are really bad that have happened to me, but I wouldn't take them away because I knew they had some sort of impact somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of the worst things that have happened to me in my life have led to better things because of how I reacted, or, because if I hadn't graduated from high school because of being so miserable and worked for that year, I wouldn't have been able to afford college. So
good plan.
I mean, it wasn't the initial plan, but
It wasn't the plan.
It wasn't, but sometimes to make things easier, when people ask, "Oh, why did you graduate school early?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, to afford college." When in reality, it was I couldn't stand my high school.
That's just fine.
But it just makes it easier. People don't ask questions.
Do you have any, today, now that you're in college, do you have any core values that shape your life?
Treat others the way you want to be treated. I mean, it's the easiest one to live by.
Okay. Do you have any others?
That one kind of encompasses everything else for me.
Okay. I want to move now a little bit to religion and stuff. You okay with that?
Yes.
When did you first hear about God or religion or something?
The first significant memory I have about Christianity and God in particular was when I was probably around 4-ish. My grandfather approached me on Easter and said, "What's the meaning of Easter?" And I knew, I had some awareness that it wasn't about chocolate, but I said, "Well, I know it's not about the Easter bunny." And he pulled me onto his lap and he said, "Well, let me tell you, it's not about the Easter bunny." I'm like, "Okay, I just said that," but And then he went on to explain to me everything.
Wait, you were how old?
I was around 4
Okay.
4 or 5. And then that one was pretty significant. Then there was the time my grandfather made me cry because he was explaining to me about limbo and where unbaptized babies went. And I wasn't baptized, so I didn't.
Ooh.
That was a rough talk. I mean, he didn't mean for me to be crying about it, but, you know, when you're 6 and you're hearing that you might burn in hell because...
Or hang in limbo.
Or hang in limbo for a while, which could eventually lead to hell. I would say it was a rough start to religion for me.
Well, that was your grandparents or grandfather. What did your parents think of this?
My parents hardly ever mentioned religion growing up to me.
Still that way today?
My mom is probably the most anti-religious person I know, just because I feel like she just completely did a 360 from her upbringing. Or a 180. 360 would go back to the beginning.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, she did a complete 180 from that, and she's a very intelligent person, and she likes being right about things, and
don't we all?
Yeah, she's very passionate about being right about things, though. So if you're ever in an argument with her, you're never gonna get "I'm sorry" or "I was wrong." So, but when it comes to religion, she has her opinion, and she will stick to it, and never see.
So she's what, basically rejected?
I would say she would never call herself anything. She doesn't title it. She still will, celebrate Christmas, but not the religious aspect of it.
Yeah, sure. I have Jewish friends that tell me, well, we celebrate Christmas. I said, why? It's more fun. Right. Yeah, that's true. So, and you went to church growing up sometimes? Never?
Never. The only time I ever went to church was with my grandparents when they asked me to come with them, when I went up and stayed with them for a week, or for Christmas every now and then. But aside from that, I would say I went to my grandparents' church 3 times in my entire life. My aunt's church maybe 4 times. The only reason I ever went to my aunt's church was because it was the only way I was allowed to sleep over their house. Because if I wanted to hang out with my cousins and sleep over their house, I had to go to church with them the next morning. Until I got older and I realized, I don't have to do that. But
older being what?
Well, when you reached like 13 and you're allowed to stay home alone.
Sure.
But aside from that, we didn't sleep over their house a lot.
The word Christian's thrown around. Can mean a bunch of things to different people. When you hear the word Christian, what does it spark inside you? What ideas or memories?
I would say that it's really hard for me to talk about it because I feel like on the one hand I've only ever met one truly devout Christian.
Mm-hmm. Who was that?
My grandmother.
Okay.
But and she is a Christian, but on the other hand, there are some things. It's not that she's not. She's just stuck in a time period, if anything. She's stuck in the past, and she doesn't want to progress forward.
So her Christian faith is 19-something?
Yeah. I mean, she's such a charitable person. She will do anything to help anyone. She's not in any position to be helping anyone at the moment. Financially, they're completely... we've been supporting them financially for years.
Sure.
So, but either way, she will go... I mean, it isn't even just, like, giving money or doing charitable deeds or, volunteering anywhere. She will, random people at a store, she will talk to them to make them feel better if she notices they're unhappy. She cuts hair for a living, and she gives all of her old customers who can't afford haircuts anymore free haircuts. And on top of that, she's just the nicest person I've ever met. except a little bit racist every now and then.
Really?
A little bit racist, just to one ethnicity. Well, I guess it's just a little ethnic bias. She's a little. Every now and then she'll make an underhand comment about Puerto Ricans. I don't know why. She doesn't really understand that she's being racist or a little politically incorrect. I really don't think she understands it. But it happens, and we just kind of try to ignore it. And, we try to correct it at the time. And she's like, well, I see what you're saying, And she usually comes around, but just those two moments that she's talking about someone being lazy because they're Puerto Rican, it's just like, whoa, this sweet old lady just got a little bit.
Something happened somewhere in life.
I have no idea what happened, but
yeah.
I was at one point, my very first boyfriend was half Puerto Rican, and he came up to Massachusetts to meet my family.
Whoops.
And she made some underhand comment about, and she had no idea because he didn't look Puerto Rican. He was half Puerto Rican, half Irish, mainly looked Irish. So she had no idea whatsoever. So, but it was interesting.
I'll bet.
It was a nice car ride home.
Well, let's get off of religion in a sense for a minute and talk about Jesus Christ. What do those two words spark in you?
To be perfectly honest with you, Jesus Christ Superstar the musical, because that was like the only exposure I had to religion in my own house ever growing up. Yeah.
Jesus Christ Superstar?
Yeah, the play.
Yeah.
The movie, actually. I loved that soundtrack growing up. So I didn't really know what the lyrics were really about.
Yeah.
But I loved the songs, and I was like, oh, Mary Magdalene, she's got such a pretty voice. Or, wow, Jesus Christ, he can really hit those high notes. It's fantastic.
Yep, must be God. Nobody else can get that high.
I'm not gonna lie, Gethsemane?
Yeah?
Yeah, that's my favorite song on that soundtrack. I have no idea what it's about, but...
I knew it. I was around when it came out as a play that I remember.
I was crazy about that play. Even every now and then, I'll pull up the soundtrack to listen to it. Yeah.
Okay.
That was my exposure to Jesus Christ in my household.
Wow.
Other households, it was one of those eye rolls, the eye roll name at my aunt's house. Like every time it was brought up, because it was brought up so often.
Yeah.
I actually, for my 18th birthday, I guess they were prodding me to do a roast for some reason. Well, instead of roasting me, they wanted
you to roast
everyone else. Like, I had to give my opinion about everyone.
Oh.
I don't know why that ended up happening, but when I got to my aunts, or my aunt and my uncle, the born-agains, the thing that I brought up was that even at Christmas time, you would not recognize a single song they played, because all of their music was Jesus music. It was not, there was never, alright, their last name is Rudolph. I've never heard Rudolph played in their household.
That's probably why. No Frank Sinatra or...
No Frank Sinatra, no
Janis Joplin
Bing Crosby, no Frosty, no nothing. It was always like, Jesus is our Savior, all hail Jesus, stuff like that.
Do they live life?
I don't know what they do. I mean, when their daughter came out of the closet, that was significant. But and they don't get me wrong, they got better in some regards, but then in other regards that they could be a little more. I don't even know how to. More passionate about their religion. They would exert every ounce of effort to be like devout Christians. By every time you enter their household, some sort of famous Christian rock song is on. And I don't know any famous Christian rock songs, but if they're playing non-famous Christian rock songs, I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But they
At least they're playing Christian rock songs and not Gregorian chants or something.
I mean, I don't know. Those are a little interesting. Christian rock songs and Christian pop and Christian relaxation music. It's nauseating after 3 straight hours.
Maybe only Christians can relax to them.
I don't know. I mean, a lot of their kids have turned away from religion because of it.
Yeah.
And I never thought that would happen, but first one was lesbian, the second one moved to Colorado, not explaining why.
Who did?
The second daughter.
Just,
I mean, she got married, and then they moved to Colorado, from nowhere.
huh?
And the son is not religious at all whatsoever, and then their final daughter is a piece of work. But none of them are like well inculcated in any church or any religious aspect of their life.
What about you? You have religious interest or any faith?
I find religion interesting and I think it's very important, but I've never really been exposed in a way that I felt, welcomed almost, because even in some of the church environments I've gone to, you feel like the foreigner there.
Yeah, I know.
Because I remember I went to church with my aunt and uncle once and my cousin's girlfriend came, and she and I are both same upbringing. Neither of us were ever, involved in a church, and you could almost tell that we were the odd ones out because people would like look at us like, who are these people? It wasn't like inviting; it was very judgmental. And then but to be perfectly honest, we were kind of giggling the entire time because it was I guess I would say like a more trying to appeal to a younger audience church.
Okay.
So they had a band for the Christian music, and this one guy standing in front of us the entire ceremony. Anytime music was playing, he wasn't doing anything. He just was standing there like this.
Hold that pose. No.
I swear, he did not put his arms down once. And we couldn't stop laughing. So, I guess
Maybe
that's
he's
the reason.
practicing for a swan dive or something.
I don't know. I mean, there was like the guy doing that, and then there was this woman like just like really getting into it, going like that. And I thought it was hilarious, but I know that's sort of horrible to laugh at that because they were actually feeling something.
Mm-hmm.
But since I couldn't feel it or didn't want to feel it or didn't really feel invited to feel anything, so it was just a little strange.
I've been to some churches where they tell the visitors because all the members have name tags. And if you're not wearing a name tag, well, must be a visitor. Like, oh geez, really make me feel excluded right here.
Isolated, yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird. And I've been to the churches where everybody's lifting their arms or shaking or whatever. I'm like, I guess I'm just not that demonstrative.
It's just like they have to show that they're into it. That's how I felt. I didn't feel like it was genuine. Well, some of them. I mean, I'm the guy that was holding that pose for a good 45 minutes. He must have been feeling something.
Yes.
Pain in
Muscle
his arms,
pain.
maybe? Yeah.
I'm all for emotion being in religion. Just like, it always bothers me that you go to a football game or something. Do you like football? Okay.
I like playing it more than watching it.
So does my wife. She used to rip the guys to death. They played flag tackle football. She just killed them. Wouldn't do that now, but we do have thoughts every now and then. But, our church has a few people like that. And I don't know. Guess I'm too boring. If, shifting gears, if you could describe God and had to use just 3 words, not including Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, what 3 words would you describe him?
That one's difficult for me to Because I feel like there's the way that I perceive God, and then the way that I feel like I'm supposed to perceive God.
Uh-huh.
I would say
You don't have them.
I don't have words to describe it. It's just because I guess I don't really know what I believe in
Mm-hmm.
yet. So, I mean, all I know is that God would be what I would want God to be, and I guess would be loves everyone. I don't think that's one word, but
Mm-hmm.
loves everyone, merciful.
I hope so.
Yeah.
For my sake. Yeah, that too.
And I guess he's supposed to be all-knowing, but
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's supposed to be a he or a she or a
Mhm.
thing or God. Or,
You still want to talk about that stuff? Not it. I mean, after the interview and everything. Not today.
Well, yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. What doubts or misgivings do you have about the Christian faith?
I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy. I mean, from my personal experiences, a lot of the devout Christians I met, the ones that really assert themselves in the religion,
Uh-huh.
are some of the most non-Christian people I've met. You know, they don't practice what they preach. They don't. You know, my aunt will, say, yeah, you need to love everyone, but then she kind of treats her own mother-in-law like garbage. Horrible.
What your mom does?
No, my aunt, born again,
Your aunt.
she's a devout Christian who probably her mother-in-law has Alzheimer's, and she's so cruel to this woman.
Wow.
And don't get me wrong, she was a cruel woman towards my aunt when she wasn't completely incapable of even knowing who she was. But now it's like she's getting her revenge on this poor woman that's has no idea what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember this one time, she's so far gone that the last time I saw her, my brother went over to say hello to her, and he just sat down. Hi Doris, how are you? Who the hell are you? And that was probably the most I've ever heard her say in one sitting. But I remember this in particular, like how my aunt treats her would be like, Doris will say, "What's that?" and point to the cat's tail,
Mm-hmm.
like a cat and their tail, like not knowing, because she honestly just has no idea.
Yeah,
She's so far
disconnect.
gone. And my aunt will, criticize her for that. It's like she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. Stuff like that.
My mother had dementia as she grew older,
Mm-hmm.
and we were walking once, and she said, "Now, Gary, tell me something. Are you my husband, or are you my son?" I looked at her and said, "Mom, figure it out." "Oh, I know what you are." But, it got funny like that. We actually used to play with her. I'd go in and kind of tuck her in at night and read a bit of scripture to her. She liked that. Then I'd cross her arms over her chest and pull a sheet up over her head and say, "Play morgue." She'd always, "Get out of here."
It's brutal.
Oh, we had a great relationship. And she'd just say, "Shut up, get out. You're terrible." Where am I here? Do you think Christianity has anything to offer our world? Or you?
I think some of the values it preaches about it.
Does?
They do.
Name 2 values.
Well, to be honest, the treat people the way you want to be treated. Isn't that something? It's an underlying value in every religion, I've noticed, but not every religion will follow it.
Yeah.
You know,
Not everybody in the religion is. What's the joke? Do unto others before they do unto you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And probably, well, I mean, here's the thing. Christianity will say love everyone, but then there are certain sects of Christianity that would just not love everyone. So, I don't know. There are things that that I feel like Christianity does have to offer, like morality, like ideas of morality.
Basics.
Sure. The itty bitty details, I think they are a little confused every now and then.
Can I ask you about your own life in terms of suffering, disappointments?
Suffering and disappointments? When I was in 4th grade, we had these friends that were Jewish, actually, and they got really involved in their temple, and they were kind of breaking off from our friendship.
Yeah.
For a while there, and when I was in 4th grade, they had a younger daughter too, and they also had an older son that was around my brother's age, and the younger daughter and we were curious about kissing.
Huh?
So we practiced kissing once.
Yeah.
And they told my parents and me, and they convinced me for a while there that I molested their daughter when I was 10.
Really?
Yeah. So I hated
you were you were the molester, not her?
No, because she was a year younger than me. So the older one got blamed. So, no, I was convinced that I did something wrong for a very long time, and I first started getting depressed in 6th grade. But, and I also stopped talking to girls for a really long time. But, I was kind of forced to grow up a lot faster than most people, and I was forced to think about things that a lot of 10-year-olds don't think about, like their sexuality, their, because they basically used that as a way to break up our families instead of doing it themselves. So
that's not good.
Yeah, my parents hate them. And my parents are always, my mom especially, she says I will never hate anyone, except my parents hate those 2 people. Like, they don't hate the daughter. I don't hate the daughter. And even, it took me a really long time to not hate the daughter because, I don't know, she was my best friend, and then she told on me as if I did something wrong. But in reality, her initial story was that, oh yeah, we practiced kissing, and then it was like, Hannah forced me to kiss her.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I was very guarded about that entire situation growing up. I never talked to anyone about it until high school. And that was when I confided for the first time in one of my friends. That stabbed me in the back because she told me, that's not that bad. And that made me really depressed.
Oh.
Yeah. But a lot of those things I just have chosen to ignore now because I realize that I can't really change the past, and I don't hate, even my parents hate them. I don't hate them anymore. I spent way too much time focusing on them.
That's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. I mean, I do think that they're partially responsible for somewhat destroying what was left of my childhood. Because for a very long time I hated myself.
Do you hate yourself now?
I've come come to peace with myself. No, I mean,
Yes, you just have other people hate yourself now.
No, yeah, exactly. That's much better. No,
dear.
after I just that was one of the many reasons why I hated my town, because there's constant reminders of bad things that have happened, and I honestly don't even think that that's that bad in comparison to everyone else's lot anything else that has happened to anyone.
Oh, I know.
So I mean, I wouldn't want anyone to have to go through it, but
Did it affect your view of God or religion, you think? Because of the reactions?
probably because I knew that part of the reason they wanted to stop hanging out with us was because they were getting so involved in their religion.
And Christians are.
Well, I mean, we weren't even religious,
Yeah.
but they were very religious in their temple. They wanted to get more involved. All of their friends became people that were at the temple, and it was almost like they were shunning us, you know?
Yeah,
So-
Christians do that too.
Yes, they do.
They'll hang out with you, and they'll basically through friendship try and convert you. And if you don't, they just move on.
One of my best friends, I'm still really close with her. She's extremely religious. She actually told me she was really concerned about me. I said, why are you so concerned? And she said, I just don't want you to go to hell. I said,
Well, wait,
really?
you live in Amherst. What's the difference?
No, Montclair's hell.
Oh, Montclair is hell.
No, she was genuinely concerned because she found out I wasn't baptized.
Ah,
But you know me, I'm not a horrible human being.
Star and I have a hot tub at our. Just saying.
Makeshift baptism.
Actually, rather enjoyable one, I would think. Jets. If let's just assume that there is a God, and you could sit down over dinner with him and have a good glass of wine or prune juice or whatever you drink, and you could ask him anything. What would you ask him?
What defines being a good human being?
One more time?
What defines being a good person?
What do you think that is?
I don't know. That's why I need to ask someone.
Oh, duh.
Well, I mean, I have my ideas. I don't think that they're necessarily right. I think some people were getting close to it, but everyone has their character flaws. No one's perfect. I mean, I don't think I'm a perfectly good human being, but I'm not the worst.
No, there's
There are probably a lot worse.
sure
people out
Phil,
there.
other people.
I'm pretty awful.
He's terrible, terrible. For the record, her well, no, not boyfriend.
Friend.
Her date tonight is here. What are you guys gonna do? Dinner?
I haven't decided yet.
It's a last minute thing.
She
Sure
needed a
was.
ride.
That's right. You wouldn't have liked the filet mignon that we have here anyway. Has a Christian ever tried to convert you?
Yes,
And that experience sounds like you really loved it.
because there are so many of them. I've
Uh-huh.
had so many people try to convert me.
What have they done? Like, tell me something.
My aunt, her trying to convert me by not letting me sleep over unless I came to church with her.
Okay.
Or my grandmother or my grandfather, they would constantly bring me things like to look over, like say, well, you know, my grandfather, I don't know how many conversations I've endured with him where he's telling me everything about religion that he thinks I need to know. I'm like, well, why are you telling me this? I'm not really a religious person. He's like, this is why you need to know. Okay.
I think from his perspective, that's kind of fair, I guess. Even though some people talk on and on.
You can't, it's not a conversation ever.
Yeah.
It's a lecture.
It's an assault.
Yes.
Yes, I know. That drives me crazy.
And, you know, even no, I mean, even some of my friends, you know, every now and then it's like, maybe you should come to church with me. No, I'll pass. Why? Because I don't feel like I have to, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, especially when they begin the conversation with thinking that, oh, I'm worried about your salvation, you know. Okay.
I became a Christian in college through studying philosophy, of all things. But I was like, end of my sophomore year. I didn't go to church for the rest of college. It was absolutely terrible. I just could not do it. I don't know if that hurt me or not, but like you, it's not hypocrites. It's for me, it's Christians that feel like they live in the 1800s or the mid 20th century.
I just have a lot of issues with. I'm a very open-minded person.
Yeah.
And I
like that about you.
I like gay people. I love them. And when they're not allowed to get married or, you know, because I grew, one of my first experiences with any sort of marriage conversation was when I was really little, and I asked my brother asked why Jeff and Bob are two gay friends.
Sure.
Like, are they married? And my mom said, no, but they've been together for a very long time because they weren't legally allowed to be married.
Yeah, right.
And he said, well, if they got married, who would wear the dress? And
good question.
And my mom was like, well, which one do you think would wear the dress? She didn't know what else to say. She said, Jeff. Okay, it's Jeff then. But then I said to my brother, well, Alex, when I grow up, I want to marry Gracie. Because I really love her. And she was my best friend when I was like 3 and 4.
Is this the one you kissed with?
No, this is the one whose older brother passed away.
Oh, okay.
And my brother said, well, Hannah, girls aren't allowed to marry girls. And that started a brand new conversation. That was a very interesting car ride to Massachusetts. So.
I'll bet. Do you have any Christians who are like friends you can tolerate or enjoy?
Yeah, I do. I mean, even some of the ones that I find difficult to be around, I love hearing their opinions and their views. Mm-hmm. I remember this girl that I used to go to school with, her dad was studying to become a minister, and she would have long conversations with me about religion and her opinions on it, because she was a very devout Christian, and she would talk to me about youth group and this and that. And she was actually very sweet and honest about what she believed in, and she lived by what she said. So when people are honest and truthful, I can tolerate it. Like my grandmother, she lives by what she says, even when she's slightly racist sometimes. Unintentionally so, I hope. I really hope.
What's the biggest thing that bugs you about Christians or Christianity?
Anything phoniness, or the feeling like I'm a better Christian than you are a better Christian. You know,
yeah.
like I'm a better Christian than you. Yeah, it's like a competition of, oh, I'm holier than you.
Yeah.
Like in some of the churches that I've been exposed to.
I've often thought in my life if I haven't raised sinning to an art form. So, trying to get through it. If you could change something in Christianity or in church, what?
I guess if it would be a little more open-minded and accepting. I know some churches have been changing and being a little more progressive, and you know, a lot of the churches in my town, in Montclair is a very gay town, so they're very open to gay couples, and that would make everything a lot easier for me to handle. But also if they were a little, I don't know, I feel like Christianity is a very, like a lot of religions, they are very critical of other religions. Like, your religion is wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I think anyone, your beliefs are your beliefs. You can't really say, like, I keep on saying, how would you feel if someone came up to you and said, well, you're wrong about what you're believing in. Everything you believe in is wrong. That's why I believe in treating people the way you want to be treated. Because
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like talking to a 4-year-old. You know, if a 4-year-old goes over to another 4-year-old and hits them, and you go over to them and say, "How would you feel if they did that to you?" They never say, "I would love it." It would be like, "Oh, I feel awful," you know. Only little sadomasochist kids do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Bullies.
There are some really scary kids. My mom works in daycare. They're
Oh.
terrifying.
Wow.
But I know that there's this one kid that's definitely a sociopath. But that's aside from the point. I think that's
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a couple. 2 more questions and we're done. You can escape. If you could give Christians any kind of advice or ideas on how to relate and interact with somebody like you, what advice would you give them?
don't treat people differently because they're not Christian.
That's good. Anything else you'd want to say to people that might be reading this book?
I guess that religion can be a really beautiful thing if done correctly. Provides hope, and that's a
Yeah.
really important thing. You know, depending on, even if you don't, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, believing in science is depressing as hell. It's depressing, but, you know,
Yeah.
knowing that, oh, there's someone watching and taking care of you, that's a wonderful idea.
Sure. I interviewed one person who said, well, I'm a scientist. And I was out in Hollywood interviewing someone there. They just said, I don't buy any of this. I said, you were raised in a Christian home? Kept going back to, but I'm a scientist now. I'm a scientist now. So I said, I take it religion and science don't go together.
You can.
I think so. Yeah. I think we're done. Unless you have any last words of advice for strange people.
Well, I mean, I just think that there are some. I think one of the weirdest encounters I've ever had was this, when I found out that my that my friend had passed away.
Yeah.
I was completely alone. I was in town in the middle of my town. I wasn't at work. I had the day off for some reason, and my parents were at work. My brother was at school. I was wandering around town, and I found my dad called me and told me that, and I don't even remember where I was, but I started crying out in the middle of in the middle of town.
Yeah.
So I was
sure.
completely alone, and this woman that didn't speak English, came over to me and started consoling me and telling me that God is good, everything has a reason. And it was probably the closest I've ever felt like actually being converted to a religion, because she was doing something that was very, felt like what a good Christian would do, you know?
This isn't in any of my notes, but is God safe to you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I hope so.
Me too. That's good enough. This is very good stuff. I just hope it all recorded and we got sound and everything else, because doing this again, we felt nervous.
Me?
Yeah.
I become a little bit nervous when there's a camera on me.
Oh, back to that again, huh? You're hopeless. What am I going to do with you? Okay, we're done.
Okay.
Are we done?